Hey mamas, it's Mama Fox and hope you're having a great day. It's Thursday and it's a little darker here because I'm sitting in front of my window and I'm certainly hoping it's going to rain. It rained just a little bit overnight, hoping for a little more because we kind of need it, although it's terribly humid, which is not fun, but that's the South for you. That's the way it goes. All right, today we are going to talk about, I'm going to try to demystify such a complicated topic. It drives me crazy. I'm going to be honest, it drives me crazy. I'm going to try to demystify GLP1 hormone just a little bit and talk to you about what is it, how does it work, and then how to know if you might be low in it, okay? And so this kind of stems off last week's live where I shared my own personal just struggles over the past 6 to 8 months as a health coach. And I don't know, I shared a bunch of stuff last week and it was kind of long, and I'm sorry it was so long. I did not mean to talk that much, but y'all can watch that. It's in the pinned announcements. But today we're going to just talk about something that personally I find that it's difficult for some reason to find information about, and it's frustrating. And that is the hormone that your body and my body makes naturally that most of us had never even heard tale of, 9 months ago. And that is the GLP1 hormone. So we're not talking about the drug because I'm not a doctor. I can't prescribe it. And not everybody's a candidate. We talked about all that last week. Not everybody's a candidate. Not everybody can afford it. Not everybody can get it. Not everybody should be taking it. I mean, just all the things. But what we can do is talk about what our bodies naturally do or what it should be doing. Good morning. And how we can help it do more of what we want it to do and less of what we don't want it to do. Ain't that just really what it's all about on the health journey? More of what works, less of what doesn't. More of what helps, less of what holds us back. That is what I'm all about, okay? And I really think that the more I've dug into this topic, GLP1 hormone, which is so tightly related to insulin resistance, which unfortunately is so common. This is something that everybody needs to know about. And to be honest, doing Google searches is difficult because right now, if you type in GLP1, it's going to take you to medication information. And that may or may not be what you're wanting to hear. And for a lot of you, last week may have been the first time you realized or heard it's a hormone. Your body makes it. You can increase it. May have been the first time you heard that. So that's what I want to talk to you about today, is just to kind of give you some information, and you can run with that, and you can use that in your personal journey however you would like to use that, okay? And start really thinking about, what does this mean? I mentioned last week, and again really today, even though I have done, I do have a hormone certification, menopause fitness specialist, and I do a lot of, hey Sophie, I do a lot of reading and a lot of research and a lot of listening. I didn't even know about GLP1 hormone until last year when it made the news. And so I think that's interesting, because if it's something that's so important that our body naturally makes, why had we not been hearing about that before last year or before a few months ago? I don't have a great answer for you on that. I'm not sure, but I can just tell you it's something that in all of my reading and in all of my stuff, it didn't get talked about for some reason. I will say I feel like that the GLP-1 hormone that your body naturally makes is very tightly connected to leptin, which you've probably heard a little bit more about. That's the satiety hormone, okay? But like any hormone or hormones, it's like they all have a domino effect on one another. They just do. And when you do something or increase one hormone or decrease one hormone, others will be affected one way or another, okay? The number one hormone in our body that we need to be concerned about is insulin. That's the number one hormone. And second to that is cortisol, okay? Cortisol is a hormone. Those are the two that we need to be the most concerned about. And really, like I said, that's kind of what got me really digging into this, was the insulin and the huge rise in insulin resistance in not just our world, but in our Trim Healthy Mama world too. It's concerning. And then part of that is because people are becoming more aware. The best way to check for insulin resistance is to ask your doctor to check your fasting insulin, not just like your blood sugar and blood glucose. You really need to be checking your fasting insulin. And I think that my understanding is that most doctors don't check that. Some do. Some are really smart, but you might have to ask for it. And that's how you can know exactly what your insulin is doing. But quite frankly, there are some other signs that you may be insulin resistant. And if you are, and I'm going to share those here in just a minute, if you're insulin resistant on that spectrum, then your GLP1 hormone is low, okay? They go hand in hand. And so that's why I'm talking about insulin resistance, even though we're really talking about GLP1 hormone. If you are insulin resistant at all, your GLP1 hormone is low. And we want the GLP1 hormone to be higher and our insulin resistance to be lower. And again, this is how hormones affect one another. When one is high, another one might be low, okay? And it's going to be like that no matter which hormones you're talking about. When cortisol is high, insulin may be low or high. It depends on if you have adrenal issues. They used to call it adrenal fatigue. They don't call it that anymore. If you have cortisol stress issues, that all can be wonky and the opposite of what we want it to be, for sure. So it's all related, of course. Just a reminder that it's all related. All right. So the GLP1 hormone, and I have notes here. Got my notes. The GLP1 hormone is mostly made in the gut, not solely, but mostly made in the gut. And when I say gut, I'm talking about the colon. I'm talking about the colon. That's what I'm mostly talking about when I say gut. Okay? So it is mostly made there, and everybody's body makes it. You might be low, but you do make it. It is released when you eat anything. Anything you eat, it's going to get released, and it's going to get released about 15 to 30 minutes after you eat, okay? That's just what it is. And then when it gets released, 15, 30 minutes after you eat, it's going to tell your central nervous system that you're full, okay? It's going to tell it, hey, I'm full. Okay, now I want you to think about that. There's a lot of factors that will impact how well that works, okay? And if you start shortchanging your eating and digestive system, it's not going to work as well. And I talk about that in the food piece course. And this is getting into part of that why, part of the why, not the whole why, but when we start trying to sip and slurp our meals all the time, we are doing ourselves a disservice when it comes to this hormone being able to do its job to help us stop eating and feel full and stay full and satisfied, okay? Hey, Miss Tammy. So that's just basically, that's what it does, okay? It gets released when we eat. It, about 15, 30 minutes after we eat, when it gets released, it will stimulate insulin secretion, which is good. We want the insulin to be secreted to do the cleanup. In the Trim Healthy Mama book, it used to talk about the Did you talk about the Zamboni? I don't know why that just came into my brain, but the street sweeper, not the Zamboni probably, but the street sweeper. It's going to sweep it up. So GLP-1 gets released 15 to 30 minutes after we eat. And then it tells the central nervous system, you know, hey, you're all done. It's time to stop eating now. Anybody else ever struggled with that? Because I sure have. And when that all happens, it also stimulates insulin secretion so that insulin can come do its job and clean up the glucose and get it to where it needs to be safely and get it out of your bloodstream and all that kind of stuff, okay? Now, the other thing that GLP-1 does is it does help kind of slow down your stomach emptying a little bit, okay? And that's because of receptors that you have throughout your body that are GLP-1 receptors, receiving that information from the hormone that has been released. So you can imagine that if you're low in the GLP-1 hormone, then the information getting to the receptors is going to be scarce. It's not going to get there. And when I say receptors throughout your body, I mean like your lungs and your heart and like all over the place, there are GLP-1 receptors. And so when we talk about the GLP-1 hormone, it's not just what's going on in the gut, in the stomach and in the colon. And it's not just about feeling full, but it's also about your body receiving signals all over that, hey, this person just ate some good healthy food and they're full and they can go about, hey body, you can go about the rest of your business and be doing what you need to be doing to keep this woman healthy and vibrant and alive and all the things. And so you can see where the breakdown might happen if your GLP-1 hormone is low, okay? What this can do for us, again, it's sending signals to I point to the brain like it's there. It's sending signals to the central nervous system that's telling your body, your brain, that you're full, that you're satisfied. And of course, this also interacts with leptin, which is the satiety hormone. It's telling you, hey, you don't need to keep eating. You're fine. You got enough food, girl. You can stop. You can stop now. Okay? It's telling you those things. And the impact that has when your GLP-1 hormone is up is it may slow down stomach emptying, but we don't want to slow that down too much. We don't want it to go too fast because we want our food to stay in our system long enough to get all the nutrients and the vitamins and minerals out of that food. So we don't want it to empty too fast. That's not healthy. That can really lead to nutrient deficiencies in a heartbeat. And of course, we don't want it to move too slow. Who wants to be constipated? Not me. So we don't want it to go too slow. And that can be the problems with some of the medications. I'll just say that. So there's a fine line there, right? I can tell you as someone, as I've shared here before, who gut health and healing has been such a huge part of my journey. And I'm talking like mental health, okay? This issue right here with the GLP-1 is one of my biggest concerns because I have had a gut that did not work properly. I have had a gut back in my mid-30s where things went too fast and then they would go slow and fast and slow, fast and slow. We want nice, moderate, even bowel movements, right? We don't want it to go too fast and we don't want it to go too slow, and we sure don't want it to be going between the two. That's not how it's supposed to work. And when did y'all even know I was going to talk about that? I'm talking about poop is what I'm talking about. You know that, right? When that's not working well and it's disrupted, the problem is that our gut health microbiome is disrupted and I call it out of whack because I'm Southern. It gets out of whack. And when it gets out of whack and is disrupted, your serotonin level is messed up. And it gets messed up in a heartbeat. And the problem with that, like I said, serotonin is made in the gut and then it's sent to the brain. And we have so many people, especially in our country, but probably the world, we have so many people taking serotonin, what is it? I forget what it's called, whatever the drugs are for that. You know, we have so many people taking anti-anxiety, antidepressant drugs, and I've been on them, and I had to have it for a while. But so many people and so many doctors that prescribe these, they don't realize it's gut health is at the root of these issues, okay? And so I will say, you know, I want us to be very mindful of taking care of our gut. And when we have things that are going too fast, or it's going too slow, or it's alternating, that's not a good, healthy gut microbiome. And, you know, sometimes we get a stomach bug and that happens, and we're going to be okay, all right? Sometimes we have to take an antibiotic. Lord, I'm very thankful for antibiotics, okay? I know they get overprescribed, but still, they have their place. And when that happens, sometimes our gut gets messed up, but that's a short-term acute situation. And we get past that, and, you know, this too shall pass, and it will. But when we chronically stay in that place where our gut isn't working properly because of whatever, I just want us to be aware that can be a road that leads to problems in other ways, with panic or depression or anxiety, or all kinds of things. So please just be aware of that. That is something that really concerns me when I see people talking about being constipated chronically or often, or if I see people taking things to make them go, and they're doing it like not just, you know, every once in a while, but like chronically. That concerns me, because that means the gut microbiome is being disrupted, and that can very quickly lead to other things, okay? So, but with the GLP-1 hormone that we naturally make, that is something our body is naturally doing. And so, yes, it may slow down the stomach emptying a little bit, but it's a natural process so that our body has time to get all the nutrients and all the good stuff out of the food before we go to the bathroom in a natural way, okay? What that does for us is it helps us literally feel full, like literally, like, okay, I can't eat another bite. I'm full. I'm done. I've eaten enough. That is a good thing. And what that can do for us when we have a good working GLP-1 hormone, then what that can do for us is help us to not need to snack, and I mean like snack in between meals, not need to graze. That can lead to less calories overall without even counting calories or having to think about it. It can lead to less cravings because we're full, we're satisfied, we're not needing to search for anything else. We can go 4 hours between eating, no problem, because we're full and satisfied. And that, my friends, is where food freedom and food control over your food really comes in, is when that GLP-1 hormone is working the way it's designed to work. Now, the problem is, right, that we live in a fallen world and things don't always work in our bodies the way that they were designed to. And usually, well, I shouldn't say usually. Often, how about that? Often, good morning, Becca. Often it's because it's stuff we did in the past when we were, you know, dumb. We were stupid, you know, like back in our 20s. Usually it's stuff that we've done in the past. We were like, we didn't know that eating this way or drinking that way or doing this or not doing that was not going to benefit our future self in 20 years. And probably we didn't care back then, right? But now we care. And so, yeah, even though ideally that GLP hormone should be high, you know, at a good level, often many of us are dealing with a low one. How do you know if it's low? Well, to my knowledge, there's not like a test where you can tell if it's low. I'm not aware, but if y'all know of one, please tell me. That'd be very interesting. I will say, if you can have a if you can have a fasting insulin blood work done, and if you find out you are insulin resistant, you're probably low in GLP hormone. So that kind of is one. But other ways to know or to suspect that you have a low GLP-1 hormone, possible signs. Well, being overweight and stuck no matter what, you know, like you're eating healthy food, but you're getting nowhere, being overweight, being super stuck, overweight or obese, number one. Number two, if you have chronic inflammation or inflammatory disease, that can directly impact your GLP-1 hormone. I know that stinks. For those of us who have, like I have RA, for those of us who have different kind of things like that, you see why y'all get so tired of me probably talking about beating inflammation. Beating inflammation is key, critical, so important. Because there's lots of different metabolic diseases and disruptions that lead to chronic inflammation. And so all of us have got to be focused on beating inflammation and keeping it down so it doesn't impact all sorts of things, including not just joint pain, GLP-1 hormone, okay? So that can be a sign, a possibility. It's not a guarantee, but it's a possibility. Number three, you eat, but you're never satisfied. Like you eat and you're like, I could eat some more and some more. You're never satisfied. Number four, I did these backwards. Cravings, like really strong cravings. Like as in, maybe you're even craving, maybe you are a hardcore trim healthy mama, but yet, and you've been on plan for years, but yet you still crave things you ought not, even though you don't really eat them. Intense cravings, something's not working right. Okay? Like often. I don't mean like, you went to the birthday party and you saw something that triggered you. That's kind of just a different situation. And then the big one that for me was the food noise. And I talked a lot about that last week. But food noise being that you eat and you ate a great meal and it was full of all the things, full of all the good macronutrients and all the good micronutrients. And within a couple of hours, if not less, you're already thinking about your next meal. You're already thinking about food. You're having to fight yourself to not go grab a snack. You're having to fight yourself to not get up out of the bed after you've already closed the kitchen and go grab a little something. That is just some possible signs that your GLP-1 hormone is low, okay? Just some possible signs to look for and think about. Those things, when we are fueling ourselves properly and well, the way our body needs it for our season and where we are, those are things that really shouldn't be a big problem. Might take some time to correct, might take some time to heal, but those are the kind of things that we really shouldn't be grappling with if our hormone was not low, okay? So we've talked about what is a GLP-1 hormone. It's a natural hormone your body makes, and we talked about kind of how it works, just without getting too technical. We talked about kind of what it does, and we talked about how to know if it's low. How to possibly know if it's low. Again, there's not really a test other than maybe thinking about if you know you're insulin resistant, chances are you're probably low in the GLP-1 hormone. But that can all be reversed. And I am going to end our live today because I went so stinking long last week. There's two things I want to leave you with. Well, maybe three. First of all, you can raise your GLP-1 hormone. You can increase it. Okay, you can do this. In fact, you can reverse your insulin resistance. You can reverse your prediabetes. You can even reverse type 2. Does it take some time? Yes, it does. It takes some time and intentionality, certainly for that. But yes, you can do that. Okay, and I would say that for most of us, it's not that difficult. It just may take some time and some intentionality. If you have like me, okay, if you have some kind of a chronic disease or other type of situation where your inflammation just wants to go high no matter what, it will be a little harder, but you can still do it. You really can, okay? Just want to throw that out there. Now, I want to say that. Number two, if you didn't see last week's video, I did talk about a few ways to start working on that. And number 2.5 that goes with that, my food piece course. It's cheap. It's 5 lessons and it's 5 tips and that will get you started. It's not exhaustive. It wasn't meant to be exhaustive. We could go on and on about some other things involved with GLP-1 and insulin resistance, certainly, but the food piece 5-lesson course is inexpensive because I wanted to just get it out there and get you started. And those 5 tips that I share, I don't even know if they're called tips. I'd call them tools. That's a better word. Those 5 tools that I share in there, that will get you started, like hardcore, get you started on naturally raising your GLP-1 and also at the same time lowering your insulin resistance, whether or not you know it's a problem. Chances are it probably is because it's such a rampant problem, even in our community, okay? So there's that. And then the last thing I want to leave you with is that next week, I usually go live on Thursday, but next week, Thursday is the 4th of July. So I will, Lord willing, and the creek don't rise, I'm going to go live on Wednesday at 11 instead of Thursday. And I will talk a little bit more about this topic. I have a whole list of things to share with you. I think, I don't want to speak too soon. We'll talk more about this general topic next Wednesday also, okay? I will tell you that much. I have a whole list of like 10 things to talk about. And so we talked about a few today. I hope that was helpful to just kind of demystify it a little bit so that you can know it's a thing your body makes, and you can raise it. And it's actually really delicious and fun to do so. And that's what I've been enjoying myself the last few months, is really focusing on that. And like I said, I mean, not that the scale is everything. I don't even own one. If I need to weigh, I got to go somewhere else to weigh. But I have lost 10 pounds. Well, that was as of like a few weeks ago. It may be more now. So you can do it, because I am the stubborn mama ever. And that's why I have an 8-week stuck mama group, is because that is me. And I know that sometimes some of us have to focus in and dial in a bit more. And so you can do it. If I can do it, you can do it too. All right, mamas, I hope you have a great rest of your day. And if you're like me and you're hoping for rain, I hope you get it. And y'all stay cool and hydrated, because, whew, goodness gracious. All right, bye, ladies.